Listen, all you New Yorkers. Taxi. Okay, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
Did you happen to see the picture of the First Lady with the robot? Did you see that? That was the worst robot I've ever seen in my life. First of all, I don't know why they did that. I didn't like the optics of that. I like the First Lady a lot. I do. I wish she did more. I wish I could construct what she would do. My wife and I would do much better writing out the script. But she's very good. She's a tremendous asset that people find absolutely fascinating. And I wish she would do more. But there was a picture of her walking with a robot. And the robot was one of the worst I've ever seen. There are some from Boston Dynamics, used to be Boston, that are so good and so incredible. You can't believe it. Now, here's my question. Whoever knows the answer to this, answer it. Why do robots look like humans? Why do they have 2 legs, 2 arms, and a head? Why? And a body, and a thorax, and arms. Why? Do they have to do that? No. Maybe a box, a kind of a squat box shape with wheels might be better, maybe more efficient. You can't knock it over. Maybe a thin kind of a shape shifting. Why? See if you can get the answer. Why is there an answer? Why must these look like human beings? And have you ever seen a robot or something that looks cute and others look kind of spooky? And you don't know why. Like, when does it look cute and when does it look spooky? Have you thought of this? This is very, very important. Because if you're going to have something that is going to, let's say, assist police, the last thing you would want it to be would be the size of a man. Why would you want something 6 feet and, with legs and you can knock it over? Why? This is a very important question, and I want you to answer. I want you to answer it because you haven't thought about it. In fact, what I want you to do is I want you to say, you know what's a good question? You're right. Why is that particular style so important? Why is it so great? What is the purpose of that? And when does it become crazy? One time, my wife and I were at this, was it Verizon or I don't know, some corporate place. And they had this robot kind of a thing. And it just didn't do anything. One time I was in a shop right and I hear this beep, beep, and I hear this noise. And it's not a robot, but it's one of those things that go up and down the aisle. Have you seen those? How did that make you feel? Did you feel that you wanted to engage it? So here's the question. The issue is called, by the way, you can tell by the rousing response from the phones of this one. Because most people are saying, I don't know what this guy is talking about. The doctrine, the concept is called the uncanny valley. Not the big valley, Tony. The uncanny valley. Remember the big valley and Miss Barbara Stanwyck. The uncanny valley. The uncanny valley is one of those strange psychological effects that you don't need a textbook to understand because you feel it immediately. And listen to how this works. The term was introduced by Masahiro Mori. Gesundheit. The term Masahiro Mori, M-O-R-I, in 1970. And it describes what happens when something looks almost human, but not quite right. At first, it was as robots or digital faces become more human-like, people respond positively. You ever notice that? It's like a clown. Do clowns ever frighten you? Do clowns ever? Sometimes Emmett Kelly. I never liked clowns, and the reason for that is that's called coulrophobia, the fear of clowns. Cool, C-O-U-L-R-O, coulrophobia. But as robots or digital faces become more human-like, people respond positively. We like cartoon faces. We like stylized characters. But as realism increases, there comes a sudden drop in comfort. And that drop is the uncanny valley. Have you noticed that? If a robot kind of sort of look, oh, it's cute. Oh, it looks like, oh, okay, got the smile. Okay, got the ear. Okay, I see a face. Oh, and then no. Now it just got creepy. That drop, that immediately fall from cute and familiar to creepy is called the uncanny valley. Not Rudy Valley, not Bobby Valley, not Frankie Valley, but the uncanny valley. So instead of familiarity, you feel unease. And instead of kind of being connected, you feel distance. It's subtle, but unmistakable. The face looks human, but the eyes are slightly off. And the movement is smooth, but just a fraction too mechanical. The smile appears, but doesn't reach where it should. And your brain reacts instantly, not with curiosity, but with suspicion. Have you ever seen somebody, some of the scariest stuff in the world, at least to me, I don't know why, is somebody who puts on a mask to rob you. And sometimes these masks, they can really frighten. There's nothing about them that's too scary. Almost a Guy Fawkes mask, so to speak. But sometimes they'll have something that is, it's like these new CIA masks that they're touting. They're not really, they're there, but not really. But for some reason, they cause problems. So why does this happen? Why do people respond negatively to certain robots and clowns and figures? Why? Because human beings are extraordinarily good at reading other humans. That's what we do. We detect tiny signals without thinking. They're called micro expressions, small asymmetries, timing of movement, eye focus. All of these cues evolved for survival. We needed to know quickly who was safe, who was sick, who wasn't quite right. So when something mimics a human but fails to match those signals perfectly, it triggers an internal alarm. And it's not just that it looks fake, it's that it looks almost real, which is worse. The almost is what creates the discomfort. You see, your brain keeps trying to resolve it. Your brain asks, is this a person or not? Why is something off? And when it can't answer the question clearly, it produces that kind of eerie feeling. And you see this clearly in robotics and animation. Hyper-realistic androids, for example, can look more disturbing than simple cartoon robots because they promise realism but fail to deliver it completely. So the closer they get, the more noticeable the flaws become. And a slightly delayed blink or maybe a rigid jaw, some expression that holds just a moment too long, all of these inconsistencies stack up. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Because the uncanny valley doesn't apply to machines. It can apply to people in certain contexts, especially when presentation becomes highly controlled. Public figures are a perfect example. If you take Melania Trump, whose appearance, demeanor have often been described as composed, polished, statuesque, the level of control can create a perception that feels, in some cases, too perfect. To some observers, the symmetry, the stillness, the restraint and expression can read as distant, to some artificial. To others, it doesn't. And this is not about reality, it's about perception. See, what about a face or presence that appears highly curated, with minimal visible imperfection? The human brain sometimes struggles to read it normally. People expect subtle imperfections because that's how human faces behave. When you see something that is too perfect, it's problematic. See, it's the same principle. A A near-human presentation without the usual cues of spontaneity or variation causes tension. So what's interesting about this is that you will pick up on things you don't even know why. And kids will do it. And babies will look at you. And dogs even. They're picking up on something. And what people are trying to figure out is what exactly they're trying to pick up on.